Hello there. Over the last 4 or 5 years, Rusty Compass has been writing a lot about plastic in Vietnam. And when we started writing about the plastic waste issue, it was thought of mostly as an aesthetic problem. It was thought of as something that created, degraded the visual experience of visiting Vietnam. Well, of course, in the last 2 or 3 years, we've learned a lot more about the impact plastic's having on the ocean, on the environment, and how it's damaging ecosystems. So plastic is not just an aesthetic issue, it's very much an environmental issue, and we've really become aware that this is a crisis. So we'd like to step up in 2019 and 2020 our work in support of removing plastic as much as possible from the travel industry. And there are a bunch of ways we can do that. I've just been traveling in northern Vietnam for about 4 weeks, and my personal plastic waste output during that time was just appalling. And it was driven by one single problem: water. You have no choice unless you are able to carry a water purifier around with you, and that's possible, but it's not an ideal or very convenient option. You're going to produce a lot of plastic waste just from water. And if you multiply that across all the travelers in Vietnam, you're talking about an horrendous and totally unnecessary plastic waste problem. So we've created a new campaign, and we're calling it Plastic Free Travel Vietnam 2020. And we're going to focus on very concrete, practical things we can do with you and with the travel industry to reduce the amount of plastic waste we produce. We'll start with a focus on water, because that seems to be the easiest and most unnecessary source of plastic waste from travelers. And then we'll go on to some of the other issues that present. So the first stage in this process is to get a list together of businesses that are already plastic free, that are in the travel and tourism space. So if you're a hotel and you're making water available to your guests out of reusable containers, and you're making it easy for your guests to refill their own containers, we need to know about that. We want to know about that. If you've banned plastic water bottles from your business, we need to know about that. If you're doing any number of other things to reduce single-use plastic in your business, we need to know about that as well. One of the cool things I've noticed in Vietnam over the last few years is that every province I visit, and even places like Dong Huy and Quang Binh province, some of the most remote parts of the country, there are already cafes and restaurants taking action on single-use plastic. But we need to do a lot more. My recent travels through northern Vietnam really highlighted to me that the water problem is still something that is very hard to deal with unless you've got businesses that are ready to provide water out of recyclable containers. So this issue has great momentum already in Vietnam, and what we want to do is recognize the businesses that are taking positive action here, and also work with businesses that want to take positive action. And we want to remove some of these really obvious and relatively easily fixed problems like plastic water bottles. This is not a token campaign. We've been interested in this issue for many years, and we've demonstrated it. We've created lists of businesses already in Saigon and Hoi An, but we want to revisit these things, and we're going to be in touch with all the businesses that are listed on Rusty Compass, and we're going to work with you to try and reduce the amount of plastic waste that we all produce in this industry, so that travelers can come to Vietnam knowing that whatever other environmental impacts they're having, they're not contributing to the country's plastic waste crisis.